Couldn't help but add a further video in response to the Simpleton's videos. In his last one, he makes the audacious comment: male-female relationships have always been broken. This is quintessentially a naive idealist who, having failed to find his ideal, calls the world broken. That is, something wrong with the world because his ideal does not exist within it. I don't know what ideal he imagines, what image of male-female relationship he has in his tiny little brain, but there's nothing broken about male-female relationships. They are as they always were, only finding different contexts and different ways of interacting. Now, I've explained why masculinity is in the decline and why masculinity is not appreciated, not wanted by the system. But this simpleton just fails to comprehend. He makes the other audacious comment that we must keep race and religion out of this, essentially limiting the subject to cocks and pussies and offering only one avenue of dealing with what he considers unjust. Then he attempts to say that even politics should be kept out of it, without even understanding what politics is. In fact, there is no such thing as an idea which is not political. Even his MRA is a political movement. I can understand his dedication to the feminist methodology. That is, keep out any ideas that might cause a rift within the simple conception of male-female dichotomy. That is, keep everything so superficial that anybody with a cock is a man, anybody with a vagina is a woman, and there's a conflict there, which must be corrected. In other words, social eugenics. Now, the simpleton and his simpleton friends have correctly diagnosed the disease. They perceive the symptoms. They see a bias towards masculinity, but they refuse to go into why this is so, remaining on the easy road of just saying that it was women. Women caused this misandry. Women somehow once more are placed on a pedestal, and from the simple creatures that they are, become now evil goddesses, manipulating all of civilization, creating pop culture and ideologies that preach hatred towards men, and so on. The simpleton also contradicts himself, whereas he says, you know, it's not about having kids and about female-male relationships, which is the only way to have kids. Then he goes into how he's for men's rights. In other words, how men are treated in the courts, which have to do with how they're treated in relations to custody battles. In other words, with kids. Now, for the simpleton, the idea that some men may not want custody of their children, preferring to pay money and have the woman raise them, eludes him. For him, everybody with a cock and balls is one of his kind. No matter how faggish he is, how emasculated like him he is, how retarded he is of his kind, and he must be protected. The calling card, of course, is male disposability. Now, at what point in history have men not been disposable? In what natural environment are males not disposable? Throughout nature, we see males dying, competing, being shunned, being thrown out of unities, social unities, because that's their role. In what universe does this moron live, where females and males have the same value to the system? The only possible scenario I can think of where men are not disposable is in a monk scenario. A bunch of guys enter a monastery, they're codependent, they value each other, they love. It's a homoerotic situation. Women are excluded, everything goes on peacefully. Not only is male disposability part of nature, part of natural selection, but all creativity is based and founded on male competition. It is when men try to outdo, outperform, outthink the other male in order to attain females and the offspring this can give them. It is this that causes progress. Throughout history, it was wars that created progress and technology. It was conflict. That's what produces this drive to overcome, to outdo the other, to outthink the other, to outsmart the other, to be better than the other. Male disposability is not a human invention. Like I said, it's natural. In what way is it natural? In this: a female is born with a certain amount of ovum from birth. A male produces billions of sperm in his lifetime. That means one male can impregnate in his lifetime possibly hundreds of females. This makes females superfluous, particularly within social structures where only one dominant male is allowed for a stable unity to persist, and all other males are forced to be emasculated or to play surrogate feminine roles. This is not my invention. This is nature. I didn't come up with this. Women didn't invent this. This is part of how things are. And if a little baby feels hurt about this, or is a little dismayed because races show differences in not only appearance but in mental capacities, and is disturbed by anything alluding to somebody's religious beliefs, then that's his problem. It's his problem, nobody else's. Or it's his problem and the majority's problem, because sheltering environments, as I've said elsewhere, reproduce and allow to be reproduced weakness. And as weakness is propagated through the system, it collapses, it implodes through the weight of its own mass. And we see in the West this decline as we're speaking. And like I said in the previous video, when I say masculinity, femininity, I'm not just talking about the genitals. I'm talking about the biggest sex organ of it all, of them all, the brain. It is an attitude. Masculinity is an attitude. And what is the solution this douchebag offers for this broken relationship, which was never fixed? I don't know what fixed means, but in his head, some ideal exists somewhere, but he's never seen it, so he can only imagine it, and therefore the world has always been broken. The only solution is pouting, turning your back, playing video games, bitching, complaining, trying to change the laws. How are the laws going to change the nature of a female? How are the laws going to change the nature of a man? How how is the system gonna prefer males to females, and why? Particularly in this day and age where male muscle power and intellectual superiorities are no longer needed as they were in the past. Why would the system do this when the masculine is always a disruptive element, which only explains why the female is preferred? Mind you, the female is preferred not only in male social systems, but in all natural social systems. Take any social system that emerges in nature. Ants, bees, termites, lion prides, wolf packs. What is preferred? Hyenas. What is preferred here? The feminine. There's a reason for it. If we've learned anything, it's that this MRA movement is really a movement mirroring feminism and its methods. It at least has its the same principles as feminism. And although this douchebag can't understand how Marxism relates to humanism, or secular humanism, or socialism, or how it goes back to Christianity, if he can't understand or he's not interested and he wants to remain a douchebag his whole life, that's his problem. I'm not really interested in this douchebag or with his friends. I'm just using them as a way of exposing what is occurring. What is occurring is the feminization of man. Now, there are many ways to deal with this current trend. The problem is there's no more frontiers, and that forces us to use alternative methods. But in order to apply these methods, one would have to first accept what is occurring. Then one must know oneself fully, that is, know one's own limits, one's own talents, strengths and weaknesses, and then through this knowledge find a tactic to reach an objective. And of course one must have a concise understanding of their basic objective or object, not what the system tells them, not what others are doing, but what the individual himself wants. And if some douchebag tells him to turn his back and not have kids, or to just fuck around and not risk anything because he might have to pay for it, he should close his ears. If he has an objective and he wants to reach it, what's required is a clear understanding of the environment and a clear understanding of oneself within the environment. And I'm saying not overestimating or underestimating, but as precise as this is possible. Ta-ta.